Hello, everybody! Welcome back to my channel where stories and other random things take center stage and imagination is prized above all. So I am back for a review, and happy Valentine's Day! We're reviewing a romance today. Yeah, we're reviewing a romance today, and we are reviewing today, as you can see from the title, The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I believe she is a Spanish author, so I remember hearing that she's a Spanish author. So yeah, and I mean her last name would suggest it. Armas in Spanish means souls, for the record. So this is her debut novel. I have thoughts. Let's talk about the synopsis first. A wedding, a trip to Spain, the most insufferable man, and 3 days of pretending. Or, in other words, a plan that will never work. Catalina Martin, finally, not single. Her family is happy to announce that she will bring her American boyfriend to her sister's wedding. Everyone is invited to come and witness the most magical event of the year. That would certainly be tomorrow's headline in the local newspaper of the small Spanish town I came from, or the epitaph on my tombstone, seeing the turn my life had taken in the span of a phone call. 4 weeks wasn't a lot of time to find someone willing to cross the Atlantic from NYC and all the way to Spain for a wedding, let alone someone eager to play along my charade. But that didn't mean I was okay, it's apparently really easier to record in bed, but whatever. Desperate enough to bring the 6'4", blue-eyed pain in my ass standing before me. Aaron Blackford, the man whose main occupation was making my blood boil, had just offered himself to be my date. Right after inserting his nose in my business, calling me delusional, and calling himself my best option. See? Outrageous, aggravating, blood boiling, and much to my total despair, also right, which left me with a surly and extra large dilemma in my hands. Was it worth the suffering to bring my colleague and bane of my existence as my fake boyfriend to my sister's wedding? Or was I better off coming clean and facing the consequences of my panic induced lie? Like my abuela would say, que Dios nos pille confesados. Okay, guys. Before I continue, I think that means let God find us confessed or something along the lines. I don't. I believe that's what it would translate to for any people that don't speak Spanish. I believe that's what it would translate to. It sounds like uh, let God find us confessed or something along the lines. I genuinely don't fully know. I am a fluent Spanish speaker, but it is actually my first language in my mother tongue. But uh, the there are words I kind of there are like words and phrases I get stuck on. I mainly speak English, and my Spanish is usually reserved for my parents and my aunts and uncles and some extended family that don't necessarily live here and just don't speak English. So my Spanish, although it's fluent, I do get caught up in certain words. And also, I do have some issues reading in Spanish, and my Spanish comprehension when I read, although I comprehend everything perfectly in oral form when I'm talking, when I read, I have a very low low comprehension in Spanish. So I can't actually read a novel in Spanish. I can probably do it in audio, but I cannot physically read a Spanish novel. Thought you should know. Anyway, the Spanish love deception is an enemies to lovers fake dating romantic comedy, perfect for those looking for a steamy slow burn romance with the sweetest happily ever after. So, the Spanish love deception. Oh. I was actually really excited for this one. I saw a vlog that got me pretty excited for it. From my understanding, this is a really big book on Book Talk, which is basically TikTok's book community, for anyone who doesn't know. I don't necessarily watch TikTok, but I did hear that it became very popular through 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 TikTok and stuff like that. So it became super popular eventually everywhere else. So I was actually pretty excited, mainly because I saw a vlog from one of my favorite booktubers, Irish Reader. I'll link the vlog below if I remember. Hopefully I do. But basically, I saw a vlog where he was doing like a 24-hour romance readathon, and I was actually pretty excited to read it because it sounded really interesting. I love enemies to lovers, and I haven't read anything fake dating, but it sounds really fun. So I was pretty excited for it, and so I was trying to get it first through the NLS Bard, and I couldn't find it through there, so I ended up buying it through Audible, along with another book which I will not review, but by the time you see it, I would have already discussed it in my January wrap up. So I was pretty excited in the fact that that this happened, right? So I bought it and decided to read it. And I was so disappointed, actually. I was really disappointed. I started reading this in Braille, actually. I downloaded it in Braille first, but I got to chapter 5, and by the time I got to chapter 5, I was actually considering DNFing, because I was really bored by chapter 5. And usually when I read a book physically, and if I'm bored by chapter 5, I usually DNF books. Yeah, I give it a couple of chapters to get me interested. But if by chapter 5 I'm bored, I usually DNF books. And I was considering DNFing, especially when it got to a specific scene, which I'm not going to spoil anything here, at least not yet. If I do, I'll let you know, but I don't think I will. So, it got to a specific scene, and I was like, I don't think I like this. And I decided to give this another chance through audio, and I still, and I felt like it would be easier because, I read at a faster speed. Again, I read usually, for most normal books, I read at a 2.5 to 3 times speed. Sometimes I can slow it down to double speed. Sometimes I could slow it down to 1.5, but when I slow it down to 1.5, I'm usually reading through my Amazon Echo. So that's because it's the fastest it will read for some reason. They haven't added extra speeds to the Echo. So that's the only reason I do it. But anyway, so I thought it would be easier because I can get through it faster, not to mention just get through it. So I decided to take it. And I was so disappointed. I was very disappointed because I was super excited for this book. Like, I was really excited. It sounded interesting. Enemies to lovers is an amazing trope. I got introduced to it when I read Red, White, and Royal Blue fake dating sounds awesome. Who wouldn't want to see a fake relationship, see how it was gonna go? It sounded very fun, and I was really looking forward to seeing the results of a badly made plan. And I do enjoy rom-coms. I do like them a lot because they're really funny. I mean, I enjoyed things like Better Together, Again But Better, Red, White, Royal Blue. What's that other one called? Oh, One Last Stop. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy I Kissed Shara Wheeler. So I do like them if they make sense. But then you have this, and I'm just I feel a sense of disappointment even now as I'm reviewing this. I read it in the beginning of January, and I feel a sense of such disappointment. It just feels like, everything kind of, all my excitement went away, and I started 2022 with a terrible book. And I was just like, okay, you know what? Fine. I guess I don't know. It was definitely not for me. The things I found in this book were just, it was not a slow burn romance, but it was definitely too long for the story it was trying to tell. It is 487 pages, and it was too long because it left us with nothing. It left me with absolutely nothing. As the reader, was disappointed and upset because for 487 pages, I really didn't get anything. I got no satisfaction. I wasn't even swooning. And that is something that I like about romance. The romance I read. It's swoon worthy, and it's something that's exciting to me. But this just made me kind of sad. I felt like the description let me down entirely. I felt like I was lied to. The whole uh what is it called? Promise of the premise, just, it wasn't there. I was just sad. It saddens me, especially because somehow it became a trend because I started 2021 with a bad book. Well, not two bad books. They were like, the concepts were awesome. The same reasons, the same thing here. I started with like books where the concepts were amazing, but like it was executed badly, and I felt like that was the same here. And I was just upset. I'm just upset with this. I'm disappointed because I was expecting better. It sounded like a great romance. Now, I will say that the book had some interesting themes. Um, there are things I did like about the book, and one of them was the family dynamic. I thought that the family dynamic of this book was amazing. I think those were the best parts. The best parts of the book were actually parts that didn't actually focus on the romance at all. Um, because the romance was terrible, in my opinion. There was no chemistry between the love interests. Catalina is a character that I have mixed feelings on. I literally read a review where someone, or saw a review on YouTube where someone outright hated her as a character. I have mixed feelings about her. I feel like she can be very annoying at times, but I can also understand her in the books, especially the reason she lied about her boyfriend. I can understand how that works. I can see why that became a thing. I can understand some of her actions and motivations, but I can find her annoying in other parts and even oblivious, even though she's supposed to be super intelligent. If we're being honest, this felt kind of like female power fantasy, but disguised as a romance. Because it has the energy of you wish this was you, and it sounds like it was written just to be something to make you feel powerful. Catalina is a successful woman working at a very successful company, and she is the only woman that is the leader of one of the teams. Is the leader of a team. So she's the only woman that is the leader. So again, female power fantasy. And then the hottest guy is in love with her, but she doesn't know. But like the hottest guy is in love with her, and and um and she, you know, she has a good job and she's successful. That's really all there is to her, with the exception of a couple of other things that happened. So it feels kind of like it's a female power fantasy, because everything she does that should have some consequences doesn't have any consequences, and the issues are resolved very quickly. So it's unsatisfying, and it felt like I was just reading something to, I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. Like it felt like I was reading something kind of just, you know, that exists. I don't know how else to describe it. It was really boring because of that. All the issues got resolved very quickly. Our male love interest was basically the most perfect guy, supposedly. I honestly found him very annoying and very arrogant as a character, especially by chapter 5, the scene that I was actually going to quit reading. He sounded arrogant, bossy, and annoying. At times, he even seemed uncaring, and just seemed to be like the type of person uh, who got what he wanted, but also expected things to be done a specific way. So he annoyed me as a character. Like, the best comparison I could make him to is Rhysand from A Court of Thorns and Roses, except that I appreciated Rhysand. I liked Rhysand for different reasons. There were parts Rhysand was more developed and had more of an interesting thing, but he was basically the perfect guy in a way. But Rhysand had more to him than Aaron Blackford does. So it's one of those things that I don't know how to, I don't know how else to describe this. I'm running out of words because I'm really I just I'm bored. But besides the romance being really bad, like I said, everything got resolved too quickly. There were themes that were explored here. I'm going to go now. I was not going to spoil anything, but I am going to go into semi spoilers. I'm not going to spoil anything in detail, but I will go into semi spoilers if you are looking to read this. I am sorry I'm giving a bad review for a book that sounds so popular, but seriously, it was not good to me. So, one of the themes that we actually were uh, exposed to, like literally the first big scene that we were exposed to was a meeting where things were being discussed, and Catalina was given a role to organize this event. But the main reason she was given this role is because she was a woman. And we got to see how her male colleagues kind of reacted to it. I won't discuss the reactions. Honestly, they were stupid, some of them. So the thing with this is that it was a really good scene about how women are treated in the workplace, especially on fields that people tend to heavily consider that are mainly for male, like engineering and stuff like that, and mainly for men. So I think that was a really great theme to explore. But oh, and by the way, apparently Elena Armas wrote this scene as an inspired by a scene from Como dice el dicho, which is a very popular. Well, I think it's popular. I've watched it. It was great. Uh, a popular Spanish program which usually has like different stories, and it's kind of like you have different like stories and different things. They tackle different themes, and one of the biggest, by the end, like one of they all end up in this cafe called Como dice el dicho, or like what the saying says, or the quote, where there's a specific quote that follows each story, and that kind of it's parallels, and you also get this old man and his granddaughter who run that cafe, giving people advice at times and things like that. And I think that's cool to be inspired by it. But yeah, so we get to see how technically as a woman she's not taken seriously, and I think that it was a good theme to explore, but it was kind of just dropped. That it was dropped, along with the scene about another thing that was also talked about is the reason why she ended up, pretending to have a boyfriend, and why she hadn't had any relationships for 6 years, which turns out it was, spoilers here again, it was because of her ex-boyfriend, who turns out to have been her professor. But after the semester, they started dating, and she, as a woman, because this happens, ended up being accused of sleeping with her professors, and her accomplishments and achievements were basically not considered. Everybody thought that she got the good grades and the achievements because she slept with her professors or whatever. So she found a way. She ended up applying for an international master's program, and left Spain because everything was all over town and everyone was kind of pitting her, like, poor Catalina and stuff like that. And then she worked her way up to, the company, the position she's at. But even in the position she's in, she's still being insulted and thought of as less because of her gender in this job. And there are other things and there's something that happens at the end that they find out, that she is in a relationship with Aaron, who turns out is about to be her boss. And because this guy finds out, and he makes a big deal out of it, and because of her previous experience, she was pretty much about to give up on the relationship entirely, and then other things just happened, and things like, it just, and then eventually, she runs after him and whatever, and they get together happily ever after, whatever. But again, these themes were pretty much diminished entirely. They were resolved very quickly. There's even a theme where Aaron has a bad relationship with his dad, and his mom died years earlier, but he has no relationship with his dad, and his dad has cancer, and even that was resolved really quickly. Even them getting back together resolved really quickly. Like, there was no tension in the story, and their conflict with the guy, with like the guy finding out about what was happening, and how they were in a relationship, just felt forced in. So many things felt forced in. Like, all these conflicts felt like they were forced in to fluff out the story and give it more context. But all these themes that could have been greatly explored were just dropped to the sideline. Like, they were just kind of like mentioned because she's a woman and she faces this adversity. But hey, she's super successful. Like, that is what this book felt like. And I feel like if you're going to include these themes, you should give them the light of day. You should give them that spotlight. There are many romances that explore very heavy themes. And I can list a couple that I've read. One of them is Camp by Elsie Rosen, that explores toxic masculinity in the queer community, as well as how families react to appearance, if you're in the way they see you, if you're queer, and all that stuff. There's just so many different things. There's, like, Red, White, and Royal Blue, discussing again many themes that come up because of the political family. There's Better Together, discussing the repercussions of the divorce that happened with the parents, and how the girls turned out in their lives after that. There's so many I can probably like focus on that discuss different themes, but at least they give them the light of day, and it becomes part of the romance. This one just felt like she had themes. Our author just put in the themes, but then just completely dropped them. So there was no tension. There were no consequences for their actions. There was really nothing. And the love interest had no chemistry. So the romance also felt like I felt kind of cheated because there was no romance. They had no chemistry, so I felt no attachment. I didn't even feel attachment to them separately, but let alone together. So I felt cheated in all ways. I gave this book 1 star, mainly because I did like the writing. The 1 star was mainly for the writing, but I felt like the pacing was actually terrible. And the pacing was terrible. I think that it was much too long for the for what it was trying to do. Um, and if it was going to be this long, we needed more. We needed more for the romance to be believable, in my opinion. Um, I also took away a star because the characters didn't really feel real. They kind of felt more like pawns to get the plot through, and I also took away a star because the romance just was not good. There was no romantic anything. So yeah, that's my thing. I don't have an issue with female power fantasies, by the way. I actually do enjoy them, but I kind of enjoy my female power fantasies with some tension and some actual consequences and some actual suffering. I think Winx Club kind of counts as a good like female power fantasy in a way because but the difference is that you kind of fall a little bit more for the characters. There's more that's happening. There's a lot more that seems to be happening, and I didn't feel that when it came to the Spanish love deception. Everything felt out of place, and I just think that it could have been better when it came to what it was attempting to do. um Honestly, these characters definitely deserve better, but I am looking forward to see how this author improves. I think she has another book coming out, so I am curious to see how it's going to work and if I still have the same feelings over it. And I'm curious to see what tropes she ends up using and how it's gonna work out. But I don't have much hope for it. But I am extremely curious to see if it's going to go anywhere interesting. If her is going to go anywhere interesting. And if anything, it just works for review. You know what I mean? So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think of the Spanish love deception. I'm pretty sure I may have just disappointed any members that really enjoyed it. But these are things that I find. I looked at Goodreads for like reviews at some point. This and even on YouTube. This book seems to be pretty polarizing. Like there are people that give it 5 stars and there are people that give it 1 star, and people seem to be like the people that give it like really positive were really really in love with specifically Aaron Blackford. While everybody else seemed to find him annoying and even Catalina annoying. So I kind of fall into the more annoying side. And also, polarizing books are just interesting to review. So, so sick. Anyway, happy Valentine's Day. I reviewed a bad book, but here we are. Happy Valentine's Day. But hey, and come on for the rest of the week where I will be recommending for books for after the Spanish love deception. I have 3 recommendation videos because I have 21 recommendations, so I'm splitting them up into 7. I have 3 coming out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I'm reviewing on Friday Rebels Creed, which is the sequel to Breach of Peace. So yeah, come back for the recommendations I have for you guys. At least, even if I gave this a negative review, I know there's an audience for this book, and for that audience, I will say, hey, I hope this book, gave you some enjoyment and provided you some entertainment, and I hope that you really fell in love with this book. Unfortunately, it wasn't for me because I usually prefer more heavy themes. Even in my romance, I sometimes prefer more heavy themes. But if it was going to be a soft romance, I also wanted to, fall for the romance. But hey, that's just me. But enjoy but I hope you guys enjoyed that book. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts on the Spanish love deception. And I will see you tomorrow for my first recommendations video. Until then, consume stories.